Hey Goobers, and welcome back to class. Today we are going to be talking about circles and how to find the area and circumference of them. So before we begin, there's a couple important things to go over and just get a reminder about. So the diameter of a circle is when a ray goes from one side of a circle all the way to the opposite side while passing through the middle. And it's really important that the diameter passes through the middle. So a radius is when a line goes from the center of a circle to the outer edge of the circle. Radius. And it is actually 1/2 of the diameter. So if you're given the diameter, you can always find the radius just by dividing it by 2 or multiplying it by 1/2. The last important definition we're going to go over today is the circumference of the circle. The circumference is basically just like the perimeter of a shape, but specific to the circle. So a circle's circumference is its perimeter and how long around it is. So to find the circumference, we usually look at the formula C equals pi times the diameter. Which brings up another important point to remember, which is pi. It is called pi, P-I. And usually in math, we just keep with the first 3 numbers of pi, which is 3.14. But it is very important to remember that pi goes on forever and ever and ever and ever. So the way that we find pi is every single circle. If you divide the circumference by the diameter, you will always get pi, especially if you have the exact numbers and you're not rounding at all. So to find pi, you take the circumference and divide it by the diameter. So if you only have the diameter, it makes sense that you would have to divide or multiply both sides by the diameter to find the circumference, which equals pi times the diameter, because these will cross out. And that is how we find the formula for circumference. So just a little background knowledge there. We're going to go ahead and carry on to finding circumference. So to find the circumference of this circle, and again, the circumference is the area all the way around the circle and how long it takes to get all the way around, we're going to use the formula C equals pi times the diameter. And in this case, we can see here that 10 is our diameter because this line here goes all the way across and through the middle. We can go ahead and easily replace the diameter with 10. And like I said previously, we're going to be using 3.14 for pi. So 3.14 times 10, which should be pretty easy math for us because we only have to move over the decimal one place to get 31.4 inches. And that is how we find our circumference for this circle here. Sometimes when you get to problems in finding circumference, they're only going to give you the radius. And like I said before, our circumference formula is pi times diameter. We're going to have to remember that the radius is diameter divided by 2. So to get the diameter by itself, to figure out how that is, we're going to multiply both sides by 2. The 2's on this side are going to cross out, and it's going to leave us with 2r equals d. And over here we see that the radius is 2 inches, and it tells us on our diagram. So we're going to do 2 times 2, because that's what r is, to equal d, and we get 4. So our diameter is 4. So we're going to take that and plug it in over here. So we are going to get circumference equals pi times 4. And again, we want to use 3.14 as our pi. So when we go through and multiply that out, we are going to have c equals 3.14 times 4, which gives us the circumference of 12.56 inches. So there is our circumference for this circle. So now we're going to move on to figure out how to find the area of circles. So the area is going to be a little different. It's a lot like circumference that we're going to be using pi, but instead we're going to be using this formula, a equals pi r squared. So we're going to be using a equals pi, 3.14, times radius squared. So to find the area for the circle here, we have 14 inches for our radius. And again, we're using the radius, so we don't have to double that to find the diameter because it already gives us what our radius is. So we're going to take A, because that's our area, and we're going to use 3.14 as our pi. And our radius of 14 inches. And we're going to square that 14. And we're only squaring the 14, so that has to be our first step. So when you square 14, you get 196. So we're going to bring down that 3.14 again, and we're going to multiply that by the 196. So we can go ahead and multiply those out, and we're going to get that this circle has an area of 615.44 inches squared. So that is the answer for the area of this circle here. So sometimes, just like with the circumference, they're not going to give you the exact measurements you need. So just like when we had the circumference and they gave us only the radius, sometimes when you're finding area, they'll only give you the diameter. So again, a radius can be found by looking at half of the diameter. So if the diameter is 16, we can multiply that by 1/2 to get the radius, which is going to be 8. It's going to be 8 inches. And again, here is our diameter and how we got that 16. So we're going to use our area formula for a circle, A equals pi r squared. And we have our radius here. So we're going to plug that in for r. So A equals that 3.14 that we're using times 8 squared. And since the square is only with the radius, again, we're going to do that first. So 8 squared gives us 64. So we get A equals 3.14 times 64. And now we can just multiply those two numbers together to get area equals 200.96. And that is our area for this circle here. So overall, as long as you can find the radius and the diameter, it is as simple as just plugging in our information. So I want y'all to go ahead and take out a piece of paper and a pencil, or use the same one you've been using this whole time to try this example problem. Here I want you to find the circumference and the area of this circle. So go ahead and pause now and try to find the area and circumference yourself. So now that you've played, I'm assuming that you have gone ahead and tried this out and done your best work. So I personally, when I'm given the radius and told to find the area and the circumference, I like to start with the area first. You can start with either, but I like to because it gave us the radius, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that. So we're going to get A equals pi r squared, again, as our formula, where we're going to use A equals 3.14 as pi, and 6.5 as our radius, and we're going to square that. So you're going to square 6.5, and that should give you 42.25. And you're going to multiply that by the 3.14, so we're going to bring it down because we haven't done anything with it yet. So you can go ahead and multiply the two of those together, and you're going to find that the area is 132.665. So there's our area. And now as we go over to the circumference of this circle, we have to remember our circumference formula, which equals pi times the diameter. And again, we're only given the radius. So if 2 times the radius gives us the diameter, we're going to know that 2 times 6.5 is our diameter. And when you multiply the two of those together, you're going to get 13. So we can go ahead and plug that into our formula. So C equals pi times 13. And again, pi is going to be 3.14. And when you multiply 13 by 3.14, you end up with 40.82 inches. So that is our circumference and our area for this example problem circle. If you got them wrong, go ahead and check over your work. There is no shame in getting it wrong. Just maybe try it again, see what happened. Otherwise, I hope y'all are following up on IXL and giving yourself example problems so that you're constantly refreshing the work you're doing. We are going to continue learning tomorrow about area and how to find area of composite figures. And we'll learn more about that tomorrow, but I will see you then.